Hi, Summer.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good, good. You look good.
You too. I love the earrings.
Thank you. Thank you. So Annika needed a rest.
Yes. She just, yeah, but she's okay, which is
Good.
good. But yeah, I didn't want anyone to be worried seeing me on the call or, yeah.
Is she, are you guys doing anything for her?
We did. We had a little celebration for her earlier this week,
Okay.
which was nice. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know if she's registered anywhere?
She wouldn't tell us.
She wouldn't
I
tell you.
know. I know. Yeah. So we got her something that we knew would be useful, but she didn't let us see her registry. Yeah. And we couldn't find it. We tried.
Yeah. She's such a great person. She has taken this FSRC and really taken it to new levels.
Oh yeah. She is the best. We'll definitely miss her for the few months she's gone, but I was telling her it's gonna go by so quickly. Like, don't even worry about us at all.
Right. Right. Enjoy.
Yeah, exactly.
So Meg says she may be a few minutes late.
Yes, I saw that.
What is our agenda? This is terrible. Please.
Yeah. So basically, we'll do some announcements, and then it's actually just updates from the ad hoc work groups. So we're just gonna ask each of the work groups for updates. Hi, Joe.
Hi, Joe. Good to see you.
Afternoon.
Good afternoon. Hi, Nancy.
Hi, Nancy. I'm filling in for Annika, but she is not in labor. I feel like I need to say that so that you.
Hello. Actually, the fact that you were talking about a pregnancy and a happy situation at this point is lovely, whether she's in labor or not in labor.
Life brings lots of good, joyous things, right? And now is the time to treasure those more than anything else.
That's right.
Hi, Cameron. Hi, Pam. We're just going to give folks a couple minutes to join.
Hello.
Pam.
Hey, Nancy.
Hi, Karen. We're just giving folks a few minutes to join here.
Okay, no problem. Thanks.
Hello to everyone who has joined in the last minute or so. I think we can probably start to get started, knowing that a few more people will trickle in. For everyone's awareness, I'm Summer Modelfino. I'm the Deputy Chief Resilience Officer. I'm filling in for Annika Lefebvre today, while she is out right now. And I think we're getting close to having a solid number of folks that we're expecting to be on this line. I know Meg might be a couple minutes late, so we may get started without her. But the first thing that we want to do is just open it up with, oh, go ahead, Diana.
I'm just wondering have you started the recording?
Yes, the recording should be going right now. Yeah,
Okay.
It says calls being recorded. Yep. Thank you for checking though. Wanted to let everyone know what the agenda will be today. We'll have the usual welcome and any introductory things that Diana and Meg, once she joins, want to start with. Then I'll be covering the announcements that Annika would normally give. Those are pretty much entirely about upcoming meetings and what to expect for the report timeline. And then the majority of the meeting, we have a lot of time set aside for any updates from the ad hoc recommendations groups. And I know that there's a bunch of those, and I can already see from the folks on the line that a lot of them are represented here, which is great. The intent is just to hear how things are going and if there's any additional support or challenges that you're running into, and then we'll wrap things up. So with that, I will hand it over to you, Diana, to kick off the welcome.
Every time I see this picture of myself, I laugh. But anyway, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. I look forward to us being together this afternoon as we talk about the work groups and what we've achieved in the work groups. It's an exciting time. I say that laughingly, but it's an exciting time as we move forward. So we really have a lot of work to do around food policies and recommendations, as we all foresee, and some of us are feeling some of the cuts that may be coming across the down the pike. So that's it.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Diana. And again, I think Meg is back to back today, so it doesn't look like she's on yet, but I'm sure she would reiterate what you're saying. And we'll give her a chance to add in once she does join, if there's anything she wants to add. With that, in lieu of doing a verbal roll call, why don't we all just put names and organizations into the chat, and that'll help our team keep a record of who's here today. So if you don't mind doing that, that would be really helpful for us. We'll give everyone a second to do that. Great, thank you all. And we can move on into some announcements as people keep putting their introductions in. So the main things we want to cover here are just some awareness on upcoming meetings. Our next full Food System Resiliency Council meeting is on April 17th. You should have that on your calendars, 10 a.m. to noon, and that will be mostly focused on a debrief of the legislative session. So this will be kind of similar to what happened last year when we were in person, and we got to hear from CHHS on the status of the bills that we were tracking in terms of, you know, what passed, what didn't, where there are things we might want to be aware of. Oh yeah, go ahead, Nancy. Were you going to jump in?
No. Sorry if I gave that impression.
I love it. This is the curse of having your camera on. It means that you're such a good participant, you get called on. I'm totally joking, Nancy. Then we've got the next Environment and Production Committee meeting coming up, which is on March 13th. That's 1 to 2 p.m. We have our next Distribution and Access meeting on March 27th. And for those who haven't had a chance to join yet, we've got the Communication and Coordination Committee weekly legislation monitoring meetings. Those are on Mondays at 1 p.m. If you haven't had the chance to join them yet. And it looks like Meg has joined. Meg, if there's anything you wanted to share just in terms of like opening welcome or comments, wanted to give you that opportunity if you would like to.
Oh, thanks, Summer. Just thanks to everyone for being here, and really looking forward to hearing updates on the working groups.
Great. Thank you, Meg. All right. With that, this is just building off of what I mentioned about the weekly Monday meetings on food system related legislation. Again, those are from 1 to 2 p.m. For the duration of session. So those will go through April 14th. You can see the joining info here. Would definitely recommend it. I know a lot of you are on those calls. If you're someone who follows session closely, or if you're someone who, you know, typically has not, doesn't matter. It's a great place to just get some basic information on what's happening in the General Assembly when it comes to food system related legislation. All right. I know we've covered the annual report timeline before, but just kind of, you know, continuing to reiterate what the dates look like. I think everybody knows that we're on a slightly earlier timeline than we have been in previous years. So the main things to be aware of are that we're hoping to get draft recommendations submitted to us at MDEM from the committees by the end of April. And obviously, we're going to talk more about what all of the ad hoc work groups have been doing in terms of drafting some of those recommendations. We know that progress is happening, but the goal there is for us to be able to send those recommendations to state agencies in May and give them the first 2 weeks of May to provide comment. You know, I think everyone is kind of familiar with the rest of the steps that happen here, but from there, There would be revisions based on feedback, the voting process from the FSRC to determine final recommendations that make the cut. And then ultimately all of this would help us hit that timeline of getting the final report out the door in July. So if anyone has any questions on that, or if any of the steps aren't clear, definitely feel free to flag it, and we're happy to talk through it. All right, now we're getting into kind of the heart of the meeting, which is getting some updates from the ad hoc recommendations work groups. And Annika put together a number of questions that we're hoping to ask each of those ad hoc groups, and we'll kind of go through them one by one. But I will flag what those questions are here, and we'll probably return to this page so people can see it. So first of all, just understanding who are the current participants, what progress has been made, has the scope of the recommendation changed, and if there's a significant way that's happened, feel free to share that. Whether you're looking for external subject matter expertise, and then some more of the information on next meeting date and additional next steps. So I know that's a lot of questions. We're going to just kind of do a round robin here, go through each of the ad hoc work groups and ask folks to jump in and respond to some of these questions. So the first one we've got is around building capacity for local food councils. Is there someone on the line that would feel comfortable giving that update? And Diana, I believe you're a part of this one. So if you would want to give an update or know who would, feel free to. And I'll go back to the previous slide in case it's helpful to see the questions.
It is helpful, Summer. I don't remember everyone that, because I've sat on so many work groups. I'm sorry, I don't remember everyone that was a part of that work group. I definitely could go back. I've lost you guys. Can you guys still see me?
Yeah, we can still see and hear you.
Okay. I don't know what happened, but I can't. Something's going on with my computer crazy right now. Oh, here we go. Okay. I was going to go back to my email, but the bottom line with the Food Council is we're going to bring some people in because we know that the budget is so tight this year that we're not sure, we're not afraid of putting a fiscal attachment to it, but we wanted to get more information. And to be quite honest, we've only met once, and we are scheduled to meet again. And that first meeting was really just getting to know everyone that was sitting around the table, sharing information and talking about food councils. I think Teresa, you sit on this one too. Do you have anything to add that I've missed?
The one on the food councils, Diana, I have been away. I was out of the country, so I only attended the one today. That was the first one I was able to attend.
Okay. So that's where I would stop on that one, Summer.
Got it. That's super helpful. So it sounds like the first meeting has happened. It was mostly kind of, the intros, setting the table.
Yeah.
You have your next meeting set. Do you have the information on that in front of you? If not, you can share it with me afterwards and we can make sure to send it out.
Let me share it with you afterwards. And I
Perfect.
do know that we looked at the previous recommendation and was reviewing that.
Gotcha. That's really helpful. Is there anything that anyone else who was a part of those meetings would want to jump in with? If not, we can move on to the second ad hoc work group, but opening it up in case anyone else wants to share.
So Summer, I can say very quickly, it's not really work of the work group, but those organizations that are working on the Eastern Shore to help form food councils are hosting a Eastern Shore Food Insecurity Symposium on March 18th. And we're actually bringing in, LaMonica's on this call. LaMonica is the keynote speaker, LaMonica Jones, and Kim Hines is coming in to talk about using the carrot program. So there's some organization going on over here, and we've been using, thanks to Pam Allen and her group, funds that they have, but I think there will be conversation about how to fund some of those efforts and work with other food councils throughout the state.
Nancy, is that open?
It is. I can send you a link.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, I'll put it in the chat.
Awesome. That's fantastic. Thank you, Nancy. And it's great to hear about everybody who's already a part of that symposium. So really, really exciting.
May
All
I
right,
ask a
go ahead.
question? How do you become a member of the ad hoc working groups? Do you have to be a part of the formal council or what?
No, we encourage residents to become a part of the work group. There was a sign out sheet. And if there's one that you want to be a part of, just send us an email. You can send it directly to Summer and we'll add you to the mailing list.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, great question. The only thing I would add to that is that Diana's completely right. There's a great mix of both FSRC members who are kind of formally, appointed, and then just, whoever has subject matter expertise or interest and would like to be part of it. So we do welcome everyone, and we can make sure to follow up with you, Pam, and figure out, which ones you might be interested in.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Absolutely. Okay, so I think we've covered the first one. If there's no additional comments that anyone would like to add there. The second one that we've got on the list is the Food is Medicine Policies and Programs ad hoc work group. Would anyone like to jump in and share some updates for that?
Unfortunately, we don't have an update because we were a little late getting started. And so our first meeting is on March 4th. Remember exactly what time? I should know that.
12 p.m.
12 p.m. So if anybody is interested in joining that, you're more than welcome. I think we had an initial list of 10 or 11 people.
That's fantastic. And for anyone who may not already be following that, Joe or Cameron, is there anything you'd want to share if folks are interested in joining about what this work group is going to be focused on?
I think the issue, food is medicine, is the broad sort of approach to providing medically appropriate foods to certain patients in the healthcare system that would improve their health outcomes, lower healthcare costs, and boost their food security. And so there is interest from managed care organizations, Medicaid agencies, and opportunities with big healthcare systems that are looking to find ways to really boost outcomes and improve equity in target populations and geographies. So we think this is one where by getting the right food to folks who need it, we can actually generate savings in the rest of the system, and as well as make people better off. And so anytime we can get a win across the board like that, we want to find how to get it done.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. And I know it's been a topic of significant discussion for the FSRC the last year, especially within the Distribution and Access Subcommittee. So it's great to see that even though you haven't had the first meeting yet, some real momentum is building. Any other thoughts on this one? And it's okay if there's not, because y'all haven't met yet. Great. We can move on to the next one, which is on cold storage, which I know is always a really popular and important topic with this group. Would anyone like to share some updates on the cold storage work group, whether you've met yet, who's a part of it, any updates on what's been discussed or anything that you need or support that's needed.
I sit on this one also, Summer. In cold storage, we just met this week. We're going to bring in some experts like Heather from Somatics. We invited her. We invited Heather from Montgomery County to give us, and we also asked Beth to come to our next meeting. So we just had one meeting. We know this has a high budget attachment to it. Thank you, Heather. So we just want to know how to move forward. And is it really something we want to move forward? Or is it something because of the type of climate we're in right now and the budget that would need to be attached to this? Is it something that we maybe look at down the line? So that's where we're at with this one.
That makes a lot of sense, both in terms of bringing in some expertise and also having those kind of trickier conversations about what's realistic or, a good approach given the current budget environment. Would anyone else who's part of the cold storage work group want to add anything, or anyone who's not part of it want to ask any questions? Great. Well, as always, let us know. Feel free to reach out to me or to Annika when she is back if there's any support we can provide in terms of, bringing in additional expertise or anything like that. All right. So the next one we've got is on CEP and universal school meals. Again, always a really important topic with this group. So if anyone wants to provide an update from that work group on what's been discussed, what the status is, etc.
I sit on that one also, but I don't know if there's anybody else that really wants to do an update. Okay. We're really looking closely at the House Bill 1469, which is the tax sugary beverage distribution tax. We're kind of waiting. We've only met one time. If this passed, there will be money, 189 million, which won't even begin to touch it statewide, but it will be put in for healthy school meals. So we're kind of waiting to see how we want to move forward on that. And if anyone else has anything else, please.
Gotcha. So basically, depending on what the outcome is from the sugary beverages tax legislation, that might inform the direction that this goes in.
Absolutely. I know it's something that we're going to have to look at because of the cuts, but we're just trying to wait.
Yeah, that makes sense until you have more information on what resources could be available.
And we did invite some people to come to this meeting also. There's CEP, there's a couple of counties that are not using CEP. So we wanted to find out what the difficulty of them as starting that program. And then also we wanted to talk to people that are actually using the program and what are some of the successes that they've had.
That's really great. The idea of kind of cross-pollinating and having the folks that are really utilizing it share some success stories and maybe how to the counties that are not. So that is great to hear. Yeah, Beth, please.
Diana, part of the problem with the CEP, you have to be eligible to be able to participate on the federal level. So you have to do a whole calculation to see. So the school systems that have lower free and reduced kids are more likely not to be able to apply for it. So that's part of the reason. And then some districts you can you can bundle. So let's say you have a lower socioeconomic part of your county and they qualify. So you can qualify as a district or you can qualify as an individual school. So it's a big math thing. It truly is. It's not based on your free and reduced number of kids. It's based on your direct certification kids that are already recognized by the state as being free. So that percentage has to be at least 25%. It used to be 40, and now it's 25, but it looks like the federal government is putting it up to 60 is what the proposal is. Julia, do I have that right? I see her weighing in.
Yeah, no, you have that right, Beth. I was just gonna jump in and say that two of the people that we identified as potentially being good to hear from is Jody from Anne Arundel County, because they still do have some low-hanging fruit schools that could be brought on, I think, without additional funding from the state. And then also Liz from Montgomery County, because we identified the Title I issue as being one of the big ones that prevent school districts from bringing on more schools. And I know that she's dealt with that very recently. So I think hearing from her would be important too, to see how they dealt with that and the conversations that they had to kind of smooth that issue over.
Yeah, and I could tell you the plus of being a CEP district is that we don't have a fund balance negative. Like we don't have, $150,000 in the arrears of accounts that haven't been paid. We're up about 18% in participation. And there's no stigma attached to it, right? Kids are just able to come and eat. So, I mean, it's been great for our district for sure. I'm off my soapbox. Thank you, everybody.
No, I think we invited you to come and speak, Beth, at our
Okay.
next meeting.
Okay, invite me again, Diana.
I will. I have no problem with that.
All of a sudden, I'm on every committee, Diana, with you. Thanks.
Well, thank you, Beth and Julia. That's really, really helpful context. And it sounds like there's been one meeting, there's another one scheduled, Diana. There's some speakers lined up. So much like the other work groups, you're really in the process of kind of information gathering, evaluating potential recommendations, looking at what happens with the legislation to see what's possible, and then going from there. Gotcha. Great. Unless there's any other comments on this one. Oh, please go ahead.
Julia sits on that committee too. Julia, did I leave out anything?
I think you got everything. I think the only thing that I was going to potentially add was the flag about Title I funding and the loss of the free and reduced price meal application numbers. But I think if we can get some FNS folks on the next group call to talk about different ways that they've mitigated that impact, I think that would be really helpful.
Yeah, thank you for that. Well, it's great to hear a little bit about how you're digging into some of the challenges there. The next one that we've got is around expanding food access. And so this includes a couple different topics that have come up that you can see on the slide. So if anyone from that work group would like to jump in and give an update, please feel free to do so.
Hi, this is Cameron. Diana, I'll give you a little bit of a break. Thanks for your overtime. So we just met this morning, actually, and had a very nice conversation, very lively with a lot of discussion. So I will just kind of go over a few of the recommendation areas that we already discussed and we'll be exploring further. There's about 10 or 12 items here. So we talked about ways to improve the financial viability of farmers markets, because for farmers, it's very difficult for them to make a profit and balance the time they need on their farms versus, what they're going to get from attending a farmers market, as well as expanding farmers markets into new areas. And, certain counties have a lack of them. We talked about education opportunities for farmers to accept benefits like SNAP and FMNP. We talked about exploring SNAP and CSA dynamics. It's not always allowed, or a farmer doesn't always accept SNAP benefits for their CSAs. We talked about SNAP and restaurant participation. So, not all restaurants are accepting SNAP, of course, and then food type acceptability was an issue we wanted to look into more, like hot foods versus other types of foods that you can accept SNAP for. Protecting against access issues when USDA changes the SNAP and FMNP application process. So they are changing the way that they take in new SNAP participants, and they're actually putting more, like it historically has been that farmers market overall would be approved to accept SNAP, but then you still have issues where certain farmers won't and some will. And now it seems USDA is moving towards just putting it all on the farmer as a responsibility for them to sign up for SNAP, which we were kind of concerned about. So there are also, we talked about legal limitations to groups like Judy centers, which was new to me, but I understand they're early education centers, and whether they have a big presence in their community, but are they able to get involved in supporting farmers markets, food distribution, CSAs, community gardens? We talked about as well. Schools often have community gardens, but there's certain roadblocks in the regulations that would prevent them from being able to use the food or donate the food. It's kind of a tough area to look into for in the policy, but an important one. There are transportation issues to get people to markets. And we talked about incentivizing farmers to accept nutrition benefits. Like I mentioned something, I've been kind of getting at this, but what kind of incentives could we give for them rather than just kind of a lot of farmers choose to do it because they want to be, helpful and good citizens and that kind of stuff. But is there a policy incentive that we could create or talk about? Likely that would be tied to their income, I would expect. And then there's some issues that we discussed around Maryland market money. The benefit was cut recently, so it's gone down to a $10 match. I don't know what it was before, but it used to be higher. And then accessibility issues for Maryland market money are something we can explore further too. Supposedly there's a stigma around it, and farmers markets maybe don't want to allow it because of that issue in terms of which types of participants would come and use it. And we also talked about at the state level, all of these programs for nutrition benefits are done by different agencies. So we've got MDH, MDOA, DHS, MDA, and we all do our own work very well, but then what happens at the consumer level when they have all these different systems to navigate, and how could we as state agencies streamline the process and collaborate more effectively? And then lastly, it was just, I kind of put this in as a general about access and education regarding new technologies. There's ongoing work around like online applications and the aforementioned approval process for SNAP and that kind of stuff for farmers. So that's a big obstacle for a lot of people.
Thank you, Cameron. That's really, really helpful. Clearly, a lot of ideas came out in the first meeting, and there's probably a lot that's going to be really fruitful for discussion. Does anyone have any thoughts, reactions, or questions to that? I want to give people a moment because I know you brought up a lot of really, really important ideas there. Go ahead, Beth, please.
Do, I feel like I'm with you, Diana. I should be on this one too. Did you guys discuss at all like the Maryland Food Bank food pantries having food access through those as well, and being able to map those for people? And then the other thing, some of you have been able to see our curbside market, is if we could get the state, because I got those buses donated by Maryland Department of Transportation. If we get the state to do a program where they're retrofitting the retired buses to put into the communities, into these farmer markets on wheels, and finding the groups in those counties that would operate them, right? I mean, we do from us, but that little bus that we have going to Caroline, Dorchester, and Talbot has been huge in getting fresh fruit and vegetables and, prepared meals out to senior citizens, lower income families. I just feel like that's something that we really would not be that big of a cost to the state, really. But it would be really good access, because obviously we're not going to get a supermarket in all the food desert areas, right? I did see the one that just went up in Hagerstown, which really intrigued me. Did you guys see that?
No, I didn't.
It's a small mini market. I'll have to pull it and send it to you, Diana. But they go into food desert areas. They're not great big grocery stores. They're very little. And then I'm sure Meg probably has some. They have the mobile unit as well that goes out. Because so Cameron, it's hard for people to get to access to farmers markets, but like if we can go to them.
Yes, we did briefly touch on that. I believe Teresa in Allegheny County mentioned how popular the Maryland Food Bank bus was. I don't know. I'm sure there's a better word, the mobile food hub, or I'm not sure. So we did suggest it as a good solution or program to support.
Mobile pantry, we sure did, Kim.
Mobile pantry, yeah.
Or two people have said they want it. Beth, I totally agree that you need to be on this work group. And also Emily, I agree. So how can we add them to our invite? I know we just did a doodle poll that was just sent out for our next meeting. We don't have a date confirmed yet, but we definitely want to add Emily and Beth.
And the other part of this is summer meals, right? I know Julia's group and No Kid Hungry have worked very hard about getting kids access to the free summer meals. So how can the state help with that a little bit? I'm lucky because we're all rural, so we're all non-congregate, but not all the counties are. That's all I have.
That's great. And I see that it looks like Nancy put something in the chat around some of the work that the Hughes Center is doing related to one of the things that you mentioned, Cameron, in terms of assisting farmers in signing up to accept SNAP benefits. So great to hear about that.
Nancy, please send us the information on that. That would be great.
And
Summer,
bring
can I? Summer, I was going to ask if I could be added too as well. Sorry. Thank you.
Yes. And I'm not sure who is, it sounded like there's a doodle that went out. So the next one is not on the calendar yet. So maybe I'll just follow up with Diana, Cameron, whoever the right people are to make sure that we've got those additional names. Great. Teresa, were you going to say something? It looks like, oh, perfect. Go ahead.
I was, one of the things that we talked about was really looking at best practices and like coming to the next meeting with some of the challenges we see. And if we have a best practice, to bring that to the group. And I'm thinking, Beth, the buses, that just sounds so great. If you have something written up about that program, that would be great. And we just kind of asked if people could share that with the ad hoc mailing list, their best practices, so that we could maybe look at them before our next meeting, which the dates that we started were March 17th on that doodle poll. So we have a couple weeks to kind of look over some of the best practices and challenges and bring that, to the next meeting.
Yeah, that is a great flag, and it definitely sounds like Beth, you're getting signed up for a lot of good stuff over here. But it is really exciting to hear what you were describing with the retrofitted buses. So thank you for sharing that. And I saw your comment, Nancy, so I'll make sure that you are on that list that I pass along to that group as well. Any other thoughts on this one? It sounds like there's a lot of good discussion. Not surprising given the topic. This is a really, really kind of important central one for this committee. But if there's anyone else that would like to jump in here, please feel free to do so.
Shannon, please do. And Summer, I just forward you the doodle thing to send out.
Great. That sounds good. I'll follow up with that after this meeting. And so if people want to circulate it to others they think might be interested, per the comment that you just had in the chat, Shannon, I think that'll be a good way to do it. All right. Were you going to say something, Diana, before I move on to the next one?
No.
Okay, great. Cool. Okay, next up we have food date labeling. Would anyone like to share some updates on what's been discussed there?
I was supposed to attend that call and I actually got pulled out to a on-site inspection that day. So I apologize. I was not able to make it. I don't know if Dr. Lansing is on here, but I think she was one of the people who attended.
Gotcha. I don't think that Dr. Lansing is here on this call. Was anybody else here on that first meeting? We promise we won't make you give a full readout if you were, but if there's anything you can share, if anyone was on it, that would be great.
This is terrible to say, but I don't remember.
Yeah, I'm looking back through the list that I have here to see if.
So
Go
the
ahead.
folks that, I was gonna say the folks that had accepted it were Samantha Flanagan with Garrett County, Anne Marie from Montgomery County, and then one of our legislators, and Dr. Lansing. So I don't think that anyone on this call. I just wanted to be like very upfront on that. I thought I was going to be able to make it and I was not, and I'm sorry, because it's a very useful and helpful goal to achieve here.
Well, no apologies needed. These are just kind of the first kickoff ones. So, I will follow up with Dr. Lansing to see if there's anything that would be helpful to read out to this group and to see if they need any kind of support there. But yeah, it sounds like there just isn't anyone who's on the line who was in that first meeting. So we'll skip this one. Okay, food system mapping. And I believe there are some updates from this one after the first meeting that are really exciting. So would anyone like to jump in and share? Meg, I think, were you a part of this one?
Yep.
Oh, yep, go ahead.
Yep, I can do this one. Yeah, we had a really productive kickoff meeting. I have a couple emails open, so I'm just going to be clicking around here for a second, trying to get to some of the information. We had of the people who were invited and others who were there, please help me make sure I get this right. But I think Heather, I think you were there for at least part of it. Joe was there from Capital Area. We were joined. Well, and actually, Heather, I'm not sure you were there, but Juan Cruz, your colleague, was there from Montgomery County, who was a fantastic ad. Like, great to have him on the table. Leah Paley was there from Anne Arundel County Food Bank. Leslie Scott from the Baltimore Markets. Mike Tilkey from the Eastern Shore. Trying to see who else. I think Samantha Flanagan might have been there. Anyway, with really good participation, and and got into, we kind of worked our way back into the recommendation and talked about ways to, we talked about at the larger committee meeting trying to put together some better use cases to try to attract more attention to it. So we kind of talked ourselves through that process again. And then we got to starting to think about state agencies that were already doing, like Juan is doing in Montgomery County. What other state agencies are out there that are already doing ArcGIS mapping? And so Do It came up, the Department of Information Technology. And then, hang on one second, I'm going to flip to the other email. And then, second, from MCGIC. So this is, I don't remember what that stands for, but we reached out, Annika reached out to Do It, which is the Department of Information Technology, and MCGIC, which Juan had suggested, and found a really amazing result, which is that the GIS team at Do It, they have a publicly accessible food system map and that can be updated, and that they have intern resources that can do this. So, and we found a bunch of other maps that we didn't know about before that are out there, that none of them are the right map, but there's lots of other examples now of existing maps. She also, the person that Annika was talking to at Do It also said that DHCS, and I don't know what that stands for, recently developed a not public food desert, food insecurity map for the governor's office to support the Enough Act. So there is one that's behind a privacy wall, and we have a contact for that. And there's another, the governor's office of performance improvement recently assisted with a KPI project that looked at food system data. So we really made some great headway in terms of finding some other much closer than what we knew resources for this idea of a food system map than we had before, outside of what we have or what Capital Area has, which I think are also pretty close to what we'd be looking for. So, but the big gain was, we think we found resource to do this. So we scheduled a follow-up meeting. Let me see if I think it's in early March. I have this somewhere. I'll just drop this in the chat if I can't find it with a couple more clicks. Yeah, there it is. Thursday, the 6th from 11 to 12, we're going to meet again. We're going to get together and think about, talk about what would be sort of the specs and the scope of a map that we would be looking for, so we could have a more intentional conversation with Do It about the feasibility of creating a map. And but we think we might, there's a resource gap here, I'm just going to say, because getting us from, oh, we can do it with our intern, to now what do you want and what do you need? That question needs to be answered. And so that might be something that we can continue to do as a work group, and just get that over the line. So it's possible that this doesn't even turn into a recommendation in the annual report, and that we actually have potentially found a solution for the legislative requirement that we produce such a food insecurity, or I think it's, yeah, they call it a food insecurity map. So I'll pause there and see if there's, Joe, I know you were there as well, and others on the call. I don't know if others were on our work group call, but I'll pause so others can chime in.
That was a super thorough summary, and I think we were all very positive that we had some ideas that would not entail a $300,000 fiscal note.
That's always great to hear, and it is really exciting. I know it sounded like there was just a really positive response from Do It in general, and interest in being collaborative. So that's exciting that there might be a different way to take this recommendation forward and actually get to some action on it. Any other thoughts or questions on that? I believe this is the last of the ad hoc work groups. So if folks have questions on that or anything else about the ad hoc work groups, feel free to jump in. Great. Well, I think just a big kind of thank you to everybody for contributing so much time to these work groups. Diana, it sounds like you're on all of them. So maybe you got an extra special thanks for that. But a lot of good work is happening, and it's really exciting to hear about it. Let's see. So the last thing, I think this is our last thing on the agenda, is just creating some space for member updates. I know we've been getting some of these as we go along, which we'll make sure to share out, but want to just open up the floor if anyone has other updates, whether it's events, resources, things that you think this group should know about. And I'll pause there. All right, hearing none, we'll just make sure to send around all of the things that have been mentioned in the chat. I know Nancy mentioned a couple of things that are coming up, like that Eastern Shore Food Insecurity Symposium, which sounds really exciting and really relevant to some of the pieces that have been discussed. Can definitely follow up with some information that was requested about what the process is for joining these work groups, and share the doodle information for the food access one that was requested by a couple of people. If any updates do come to mind after this meeting, feel free to just share them with the FSRC email, and we'll make sure to get those included when we do follow-ups. That's really all that I have in terms of next steps, but I want to ask Diana and Meg if there's anything else that you would like to flag for the group in terms of next steps here.
No, I don't have anything else. The only thing I would like to say is that these work groups are very important. And we truly, Meg and I both, appreciate everyone taking time out of your busy schedule to participate in the work groups.
Yeah, thanks, Diana. That's great. I totally agree with that. And just a quick question, Summer. As we're moving into the second work group meeting for each of the teams, are we continuing to work between now and the next DNA distribution and access meeting without any actual deliverables, or where does I know you flashed the schedule at the top of the meeting, but just to make sure the work groups know what, when we're going to be starting to look toward filling out the recommendation forms and things like that, to make sure we're all aligned there.
Yeah, that is a great question, Meg. So just to kind of, reiterate some of those dates, what we're working toward, we're hoping to have the recommendations to our team at MDEM by the end of April. So depending on how many meetings your work group is planning to have, or how developed the ideas are already, that might determine whether your next meeting already starts to get into recommendation language and drafting, or if you need another meeting or so to be honed in on the problem, hear from speakers. So probably will vary by group, but if you're not, getting into recommendations in this next meeting, and it sounds like a lot of folks will be more in information gathering stage, you probably by the third meeting will want to be thinking a little bit about that, just knowing you'll want to preserve some time to go back and forth on the recommendations and share them by the end of April. So that's my best answer. It probably varies, but I'd say you might want to be thinking about it by the third meeting.
Great, thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone. If there's nothing else, I think that's all that we've got for today's agenda. So, big thank you to everyone. Feel free to reach out to the FSRC email if there's anything that you need, or reach out to me directly. We just really appreciate all of you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks so much.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.